of frustration, full of despair. From years of hurt, disappointment, and relegation, two British football fans have had enough. Canary bird Elliot Holman and Wanderer Henry Hewitt are in search of glory, pride, passion, in search of silverware. And they found Major League Soccer.
Welcome to the final MLS UK show of the season. I'm Elliot Holman.
And I'm Henry Hewitt.
You know it's the final episode because we literally just hit record and started without any discussion of, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah,
Should we get it just straight in? Let's go. It's almost like we're ready to get out of here and get done for Christmas.
It is, but we have actually got a little announcement to make later on in the show about what we're going to be doing mid-season, mid-break, over the winter anyway. But yeah, this is, it's always this, it's like the last day of school, isn't it? You know, we do MLS Cup, we do our MLS Cup preview, then we come here, we do an episode, a season review episode, and yeah, but with it being a bit earlier this year, last year we had Santa hats, we had all sorts, but not really in the Christmas spirit yet.
They're still up in the loft with all the Christmas stuff, the Christmas tree. It's not here yet. No. We went to very different schools in very different parts of the country. Last day of term, I was watching Shrek 2 with the karaoke at the end on the DVD, and playing a bit of PS2, PS3. Joyriding cars.
No, we were watching Shrek, but it was on a copied DVD.
Yeah.
So not legit. I think it was out of the cinema because I finished school a year before you. So yeah, it was actually out of the cinema, but we were watching it in school. And
I was stealing cars on Grand Theft Auto. Henry was just stealing cars.
Not quite that bad, but put it this way, I don't think many people lasted the day. I think we just went in for registration and just thought, well, what am I still here for? I'll just go home.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it is none of that happening today. No stealing cars or no watching Shrek. We are here to talk MLS after what people are calling the greatest MLS Cup final ever. And you can't disagree with them, can you?
Well, I can't, and you can't.
No.
Because we haven't been there since '96. I was only 5. But certainly since we've been watching MLS, that is without question, without doubt, the greatest MLS Cup final.
Yeah, because there's not really been a bad one of what I remember. Even you think back to last season, it went to penalties, last minute goal, full of drama. The year before that was when Columbus beat Seattle, and okay, it was weird, not many fans there, but still a good game with lots of goals. Seattle beating Toronto.
In that one, in my mind, when you say MLS Cup final penalties, I'm Roman Torres with the gloves on, taking the. Now I think they might have been replaced.
Yeah. So it's actually to say that obviously there's a lot of talk about promotion and relegation stuff. We've been through it, but to say that some people, and I listen to podcasts of people who talk about MLS and go, I don't get the playoff system and all of that. It does every year. The MLS Cup is an event and it's a great game, and they just prove over and over again that it's the right thing. But as we discussed last week on Stoppage Time on our MLS Cup preview episode, let's just leave playoffs as they are. You don't need to add more teams or anything like that, MLS. It's going well. Just leave it as it is.
Greatest, most entertaining league in the world.
And this is from two guys who live in the same country as the Premier League.
And the Championship.
So that says everything. Right, we're going to talk about MLS Cup in more detail. We're going to talk about, we're going to do a season review, aren't we? We're going to try and cover every team from this season. We've got a game and we've got a special tribute to one of our favourite commentators on the way. But first, I guess we better do the last for this season, the last for 2022, the game with a changing name.
Maybe it's the last ever game with a changing name.
Who knows? We have been doing it for 5 years now.
Anyway, this person is an MLS Cup winner.
Right, okay.
Because I thought that was a good place to start. And they started their career at Arsenal. They also, this was their youth career, they also played for Fulham in their youth career and made one senior appearance for Fulham before moving to Colchester United.
Well, I've got to say, if you ask me to name any player that's played one game for Fulham and then gone on to Colchester, ask me to name a Colchester United player.
Hey, Henry.
Yeah?
Name a Colchester United player.
Don't know.
Okay. Well, how about this? Enfield. 44 appearances for Enfield before a move to Wycombe Wanderers.
Still don't know.
Welling United. Barnet.
No.
Aylesbury United.
And this guy's gone on to win MLS Cup.
And he's won MLS Cup.
Not a clue. You're going to have to give me something else.
This is the big clue. They're the only clubs he played for.
Okay, interesting. So I'm saying he may be in a coaching role. He won MLS Cup.
They're the only clubs he played for.
Okay. If you think you know, get in touch at MLS UK Show, Twitter, Instagram. We're on TikTok as well. I don't suppose you can get in touch on that. It'll look a bit weird if you just comment on one of our videos with a random name, but feel free to do it. Our email is hello@mls.show. Let us know where you're up to in the podcast when you figure it out.
If it was a coach, throw a name at me.
Every coach I'm thinking of now hasn't won MLS Cup. Like Gary Smith, never won it. Nick Cushing, never won it. Adrian Heath, never won it. So, and Adrian Heath had a better playing career than that. So I'm going to have a think.
If you know, you're watching with a really broad smile after what he just said. Okay, word from our sponsors?
Let's do it.
Word from our sponsors.
The MLS UK Show.
Welcome back. It's word from our sponsors time. And I would like to point you gently into the direction of Soccer 90. They have got not just all of your World Cup jerseys ready and waiting for the big day, but also an end of season MLS sale, Henry.
They have, up to 50% off on certain items across their MLS range. And I've actually on the website here, soccer90.com. If you type in at the checkout MLS UK, you get 20% off as well. And just looking at some of the teams, especially the international ones here, you're pretty much covered in pretty much all areas. USA and Canada, yes. England, yes. Portugal, yes. Croatia, France, Belgium, Brazil, Argentina, all the big names. You can get your jerseys on soccer90.com.
Yeah, maybe you just want to show your support in the Messi-Ronaldo debate. Get yourself an Argentina shirt or a Portugal shirt. Head to the website and don't forget, we have got that MLS UK Show discount.
MLS UK Show with Elliot Holman and Henry Hewitt.
So let's have a look what happened this weekend in MLS. And there was only one game, so there's only one place to start.
I watched every game this week.
Yeah, me too. Me too, actually. Yeah, every minute of every game that played this day.
I actually missed the start. I can't say.
Genuinely, I missed 2 minutes of the game because I needed a wee.
Yeah.
And it was when Kapow got his injury.
Brilliant.
So I came back. I said to Poppy, I went, right, let me know if anything happens. She went, okay, on her phone. Go upstairs, come back down.
There's a guy on the floor.
No, I said, what's happened to him? She went, oh, headbutt. I went, really? And she went, yeah. I went, you didn't watch it, did you? She went, no, headbutt. And then obviously I went on Twitter and it went, I think he's broken his leg. And I was like, what? Somebody headbutted his leg? She went, no, I didn't see it. So I thought, great. Well, I'm never going to ask her to do that again.
That's why she sticks to the kit reviews.
Can I have one?
Yeah, she definitely didn't say that after seeing the tackle with Kapow. But what a game, as we've said, best MLS Cup ever. And we were looking forward to this because it was the two best teams in the league. There's no arguments about it. These two have been the two best teams across 2022 in MLS. And they didn't disappoint. I don't know about you, I was a little bit worried with Philadelphia's defensive record and, whether it would be a 0-0 or a very tight game. Well, no, it wasn't in the end. Well, second half wasn't anyway.
I think whether you're trying to play against LAFC or Philly, I think it's really hard to sit back because I think they'll still pick you off. I think, they can commit men forward, they can get men wide. That shape that Philly use as well is they've got a way of dragging you around the pitch and making sure that actually you can't just sit in a low block. So I think it was really good that we got to see the two best teams. And I don't think either could have sat back against the other, which is why we got the game that we got. It was fantastic. It
was, yeah. And you got a feel for, obviously, Kapow, that goes without saying. But our friend of the show, we were getting very excited. Jack Elliott, apparently, when it was 3-2, just before Bale scored, they had announced to the press that they were giving MVP to Jack Elliott, and they were getting ready for the presentation. Bale scores. Obviously, what happened in the penalties happened, and poor Jack was left with nothing. But we're still proud of you, Jack, friend of the show. Still proud of you.
Yeah, furiously tweeting that he was our friend throughout the whole of that as we watched on. So proud. Gareth Southgate watching at all, do you reckon?
Yeah,
Better than Maguire.
I said to now watch United v West Ham, and I don't want to jump on the bandwagon, and this is not MLS related, but Harry Maguire is rubbish. And he's our best defender, apparently. So if you're a fan of the UN's men's national team or Wales, then make of that what you will. But back to MLS Cup. It started off with the first half. I've got to say my MVP would have been Jose Martinez, because he was very influential in both goals to make it 1-1. Obviously, giving the ball away, it led to the free kick for Cohen Acosta, who got the goal. The first half for me, I watched it and I thought, I don't see how Philly are getting back in this game. It reminded me of the LA Austin game, where it was all LA. So I was a bit worried, but then they got a stroke of luck, didn't they, to make it 1-1. Martinez's shot, which just fell to Gazdag, and he put it away well.
Yeah, and I think you're right. There was always a danger that once LAFC got ahead, they were maybe going to, start turning on the style 1, 2, 3, 4. But Philly, they did what they needed to do. They just dug in and they kept themselves in the game, and that's all you need to do at that point, because they've got the talent in that roster to turn things around. You can't give it 100% for 90 minutes, or of course even longer, 120, 128 minutes. So there was always going to be that opportunity. It was just about not conceding. You get yourself 2-0 down, then you're in a mess. So yeah, fair play to Philly and the way they went about it. I was really pleased for them when they made a game of it, and it made for such a spectacle as well.
Yeah, I kind of went through different stages of wanting who I wanted to win. I'm a neutral.
I genuinely had no preference, and it's really weird.
Yeah, because we just wanted a good game. That was it. And, I was talking to my dad on Saturday and said, "You're going to watch it?" He said, "Yeah." Well, and he likes Philly because he likes the bridge behind the stadium. And he said, "Oh, do you think Philly will win?" I said, "I think LA will probably win, but it's tough to call." But I was on the fence, and then it started off when LA scored. I thought, oh no, this is nice, full stadium. And then when Philly got into it, I found myself going, "Come on, Philly!" And then when they made it 3-2, but yeah, it ended up with LAFC getting the win in the end. But the equaliser by Gareth Bale, we were discussing whether he'd actually play any part of it. Last week he did. He came on and it was written in the stars that he'd get a big goal.
You will have heard this. I really enjoyed the bit of commentary on Sky over here, where they went, "I hope he actually cares about this." He came on and they just went, "I hope this means something to him. I hope he remotely cares." And I kind of get their point, but I think is the problem we've got here, is there's still not that level of respect here in the UK. Even though Gareth Bale's gone there, and even though Wayne Rooney is a coach there, we're going, "Oh, he's won the Champions League. I hope he cares." Of course he cares.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I didn't actually. I watched it I got a stream for Fox, which, sorry for Phil Blacker, I know he listens, and I'm sure his commentary is very good, but I had, as a Bolton fan, I had to listen to Stu Holden on Fox. But funnily enough, they didn't mention him too much, Bale, which is funny really, because over here we look at Gareth Bale, Champions League winner, Galactico. Does he care? Over there, it just didn't seem like. Yeah, they talked about him when he was on and the camera panned to him a few times on the bench, but they didn't really speak about him that much, which I think that's a credit to LAFC really and how they've played this season. But I don't know, seeing Bale with his celebration, seeing him on FaceTime to Krapowski, he cares. Of course he does.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then after that Bale equaliser, talk me through what you were thinking.
I thought this when the McCarthy came on. I thought this is written for him to be.
Yeah, I said it to Bri. We were full disclosure. We were watching it in bed, and I said it's just written in the stars. This.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, it just and even when you look at Gazdag slipped and stuff, it was just going. It was going LAFC's way.
Feel for Gazdag. He's had an incredible year.
He has, yeah, and it's a shame really for, like, you think last year in the MLS Cup and it went down to the last penalty. This year, obviously, you know,
Yeah.
when it got to 2-0, you knew who was going to win. So it was a bit of a shame really. It was a bit of an anticlimax. I feel even in the crowd, LAFC's fans, I think most of them, it looked like, didn't know they'd won.
Yeah.
It was a bit weird, but yeah, I mean the goalkeeper, he conceded a goal, remember, but still, you know, saved the penalties, and that's what they did say. He's a bit of a penalty king. So it's, you know, it's that bit of, I know maybe Krapal's not looking at it, he's missing the World Cup now.
Yeah.
He might not be looking at it as a bit of luck, but I guess in that position, that's what you need. That just that little bit of luck to make a name for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. You will have seen as well, MLS had somebody filming from behind the LAFC team as they were stood on the halfway line, and they all ran towards the fans. And that's the moment, isn't it? That is the, you know, if you're going to win it on penalties, because it's just, there's something special about it. Horrible way to lose.
It is, yeah, but you know, I did like the celebrations for NYCFC last season at Portland, but there is something when the home team wins, you know, and it's a packed stadium. Justin Bieber was there as well with his wife.
Was he there at the end though? I saw him at the start and then nowhere to be seen after about 20 minutes.
I think I saw a video of him. He picked her up at one point celebrating, but that could have been at any goal. It could have been right at the end, so I'm not sure.
Could have been Gazdags.
He
didn't know what's going on.
But yeah, it was nice to see Biebs there. A few other celebrities as well. Rob McElhenney, of course, Wrexham's owner. He was there supporting Philadelphia. So yeah, it was a good event. It was an event that, you know, Cali, LAFC, it's glitz, it's glamour.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's if the MLS Cup goes back to LA Galaxy at some point as well, it's exactly the same. And I guess this is what you want for MLS. Part of it is that you've, you know, not only are they being talked about on the back pages in the sports bit, also in the celebrity bit, you know, Justin Bieber at MLS Cup and stuff like that. It helps the profile, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of helping the profile, we touched on it on our extra time episode. Apple X MLS. Obviously, they've got the broadcasting rights for 10 years. And you mentioned something which I found interesting in the last episode. You said apparently they're having teething problems. They're a bit behind schedule, quite a way behind schedule. And I won't be the only one. I want to know if this has happened to you as well. I got an email about it after MLS Cup. I got an email from MLS and Apple saying, this is happening. This is how you do it. Sign up here for info. Right. So I thought, okay, cool. It'll be good because then I'll have all the info for the, you know, when we do our first podcast, you know, we're going to need to tell everyone how they do it and set it up. Pressed sign up, obviously opens the field to put your email in. Didn't work.
Brilliant.
Even that doesn't work currently. So if you had the same problem, let me know. The chances of it just being my phone are really slim when you've said that they're already having problems. So yeah, hopefully it's all going to work fine.
It should do. It'll be fine. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. As we said, there'll be a few teething issues. We will be talking about it at the start of next year that, this hasn't worked and this didn't do that. But no, I think it's going to be great for MLS and lots to look forward to. But on this episode of the MLS UK show, we're actually looking back as well as looking forward a little bit, and we're going to have a look at every team, do a bit of a season review for 2022. So I guess I tell you what, let's round off the LAFC in Philadelphia. We've talked about the big match, but let's talk about their season as a whole. LAFC, Supporters Shield, MLS Cup, they've broken the curse. Perfect season, right?
Yeah, but it just feels so harsh on Philly. They literally got the same amount of points.
You know, it does in my little bits, my notes on Philly. I have said that. I've said it's the best day of a season. What more could they have done? Literally score a few penalties in the shootout. Yeah. That's literally more than what they could have done.
And even with Supporters Shield, they had that random heavy loss towards the end of the season. You just think, so close.
Yeah, they were. You know, they've had some great results in the season. The home form is terrific. And yeah, it's like Liverpool in the Premier League with Man City. It's like, well, how do you improve on that? You know, when they're getting 98 points and still not winning. It's like Philly. How do you improve on it? So I think for Philly now, it's to be consistent next year to show that, and it's 2 years in a row they've done well now. So they've got to do it again for a third year and hope you've got no one who does as good as LAFC did for them.
I think if I had to say something, I think, you know, last season when we looked at the Revs,
yeah,
and they just always found a way to win.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Philly and you think they tied like 10 games, even just one of those would have brought one of those ties where scoring one more goal would have brought them, the Supporters' Shield. And I just think that's massive. That LAFC lost a lot of games in comparison to Philly, and Philly just needed to win one more. They tied so many.
Yeah, well, they needed to draw one more as well.
Well,
You've got a feel for Philly. Gazdag, a terrific season as well, 22. Carranza got 14. You think they had a few players that scored a lot of goals.
Centre backs just rifle them in from everywhere.
Yeah, Jack Elliott scores headers and
Glesnes just rockets them.
Yeah, amazing Philly. So I feel sorry for him, but it's going to be interesting next year. We said going into this year, there's more pressure on him. There's even more pressure on him next year.
There is, but they keep it together. That's what they do well. They keep the roster together. They keep the coaching staff together. There's no big chopping and changing. So you automatically back them.
Let's go down the east then. Montreal finished second. I mean, excellent season for Montreal and what we expected of them. They couldn't have really done much more. I know they let themselves down against NYCFC, but overall, yeah, I think they've had a tremendous season. The only thing for them now is don't do a Colorado. Stay there. Stay in the top 2. Stay in the top 3 next season.
Yeah, and unexpectedly, I think you'd have to say, not in the second half of the season, because obviously their form was there, but at the start, didn't expect it at all. And do you know what? I really hope that they can do it again, because I think they can improve. I like what they're doing. You can see the plan, and I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of seeing what they're trying to do. Don't mind losing games if you can see the plan and where they're trying to get to.
Yeah, and we said throughout the season, Montreal doing well, but they'll probably drop off. They never dropped off. Kyoto got 15 goals, and that's what you need. You need those players to step forward.
Yeah, and ultimately, I'm just looking a couple of points behind two teams that we've just been raving about, saying how fantastic they've been. And I feel like you almost feel harsh on Montreal going, yeah, well, maybe next year. That's a fantastic season.
It is. We're hopefully going to do a video where we grade each team's performance for TikTok at MLS UK Show if you're on TikTok. Just a quick one on it and not giving anything away. Would you grade Montreal the same as Philly because of the expectations, or even higher?
You said just a quick one. That's quite hard. Yeah, I would. I
think I would. Well, stay tuned for that. Follow us on TikTok to see what we eventually give them. NYCFC, a difficult season for NYCFC, and that's probably why I would eventually give them quite a high grade, because they got to the conference final again, which, remember, not many teams do after winning MLS Cup. They've lost their head coach, they lost the top goal scorer, yet they still got quite far in the end.
Yeah, and it's you almost want to. You always want to say, well, show me what you could have done if that didn't happen without that disruption, because that is big. That's as big as it's really going to get.
Yeah.
In terms of, on the field issues, losing key personnel on and off it. And I actually think it is an impressive, we'll come on to the West, but we say how fantastic Austin have been. Well, NYCFC literally just behind them. What is it, like a point behind?
Yeah.
Point difference. So, yeah, I think you have to hand it to them.
Yeah, won Campeones Cup as well. A lot for Nick Cushing to build on. The thing for me that I saw with NYCFC, Castellanos ended the top goal scorer. He missed half a season because he left. I think you're looking for someone to step forward. Pereira got 8 goals. Magno got a few as well. You're looking for one of those just to step forward next year and be that person who's going to get like 15, 20 goals.
Yeah, it's ultimately that Castellanos replacement, isn't it? Finding someone who, I know he struggled at times, but his return on investment was incredible. So it's the same. You're looking for someone who's going to launch you up to that next level. We talked about how there seems to be different tiers now, almost like in the Premier League, where you've got the really elite sides. Your Montreals, your Phillies, your LAFCs. NYCFC just fell short of that. So they're a couple of faces off making it up there for me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if they can build on it and seeing a full season without any distractions, without any anyone leaving can do for them. Red Bulls, on the other hand, they were consistent, weren't they, in the season? Finished below NYCFC in the end, but that playoff exit, that's going to really hurt them.
I just think of the season in general, thinking about what we've just said about NYCFC, if they're your bitter rivals and they've had that disturbance, the coach, your star attacking player, and they just fell short of them still, I think that hurts.
Yeah, and I know a few of the supporters were having a bit of a go, at Struber after that Cincinnati game, and I think it's just disappointment at Red Bulls because it's again this constant missing out. They got Supporters Shield that year and then didn't win MLS Cup, and it's just that continuous of they're making playoffs every year, but they want to go a step further. Seattle sacrificed the playoffs this year for winning some silverware. If you ask Red Bulls fans, I mean, they may get in touch and say, no, you're talking rubbish. But I think most of them will probably go, yeah, actually, we would like some silverware now. So we'll have to see next season. But Lewis Morgan, 14 goals, great signing, and someone who he's settled in the league, isn't he? Yeah,
I was really excited. I was in here. I remember first couple of weeks of MLS. I was in here at night. I was watching Red Bulls on Sky, and Lewis Morgan was firing on all cylinders, and I just thought this is going to be big. It just never really happened.
No. Right, going down the league, Cincinnati. What a season for Cincinnati compared to other seasons. But I guess when you've got the front three like they do, any team is going to get in the playoffs and do well with that front three.
All I need to say about Cincinnati in this review, when I was 15, I played for my local football team, and one year I was made captain. And that year I walked on the pitch and I was confident. I was like a whole new player. I was bossing the midfield. I was scoring goals, and I won most improved player.
Wow.
And Cincy, most improved by a mile.
You know what? When I was 15 and playing for Bury Amateurs, I got most improved player as well. I scored 25 that season.
How bad were you before?
I think, we did a Philadelphia. We lost in a playoff, and we'd had identical records with the team that won. So I think they just thought, I think they give the player of the season to the guy who was captain, like you, and then thought, we've got to give him something. So they give me most improved player. So it's funny that how football's loss is podcasting's gain, I guess. The scouting in East Anglia and the Northwest.
Well, there's only one team, so I didn't stand a chance. There's about 50 in the Northwest.
Including 4 of the biggest clubs in the world. But yeah, it's podcasting's gain.
The 5th biggest club in the world is in East Anglia.
Miami, they've made the playoffs finally. There's Higuain's gone. There's rumours of Messi coming in. But is it a case of if Messi doesn't come, they've still got to replace Higuain? Is that how you look at them next year? Because based on the squad, I don't think that squad's getting in the playoffs again next year.
The problem they've got is that Messi isn't a replacement on the field. Messi isn't a replacement for Higuain. We know that. He works harder though, still. But I think they do need a replacement. Obviously, the roster restrictions are not going to be easy to work around here. I'm sure MLS will help them if it is Messi. Fine, do what you got to do. But I do think they're going to have to be clever in the way that they juggle. Again, let's be honest, their roster. But I think at the start of the season, as much as they hate Orlando, I think if at the start of the season you said you're going to have an identical record to Orlando this year, they'd have gone, okay, we'll probably make the playoffs. And I think making the playoffs is that first step. It is. We'll see next year. I forgot they've got Pozuelo, haven't they? Mm-hmm. He didn't hardly set things alight, but I mean, he's someone who knows MLS. He can have a really good season. I haven't seen him necessarily have a great season through injuries and whatever since he won MVP, but he's still someone who can just take them over the line a little bit. Whatever that line is, how far is it up? Is it playoffs? Is it 10th? Is it a home game in the playoffs? Is it Supporters Shield? We don't know. I find it strange because normally you'd struggle to adapt to the league, and after 3 or 4 years you'd really come good. He was so good initially at TFC, and I just think how do they get him back to that? You'd have to look at who was playing around him. Were there a couple of midfield anchors that were helping him play a freer role? Well, we need to get him back to how he was playing there, because he was playing with freedom and confidence, and he was lethal. He was. Orlando City won US Open, which is your first silverware within MLS. Mm-hmm. We made the playoffs. So a lot of people may look at that and go, solid season. You, on the other hand, you're not. No, the silverware is fantastic, and that's ultimately, I with everything that the UK fans have gone through, the fans going to the stadium have gone through, the money that fans spend on the club, it's huge. It's a massive milestone, something in the trophy cabinet finally, and that is huge. But I just think, we've discussed this. I think there's too many playoff spots, and just making the playoffs by finishing 13th is, it's an okay season. Well done, you made the playoffs. Good. Handshake, made the playoffs. Well done. But it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Speaking of wasn't good, let's go look at the teams who didn't make playoffs, starting with Columbus.
The further south we go, the more depressing this is going to be.
Yeah. But Columbus, though, they need a refresh, right? I know Caleb Porter's left, but in that new stadium, they just need a bit of a refresh because it's kind of gone stagnant the last few years.
Yeah,
after MLS Cup.
Yeah, and it's weird, isn't it? Because you felt like they were in such a good place, and I liked the appointment of Caleb Porter. I liked that he was going to bring Darlington there, and reunite him, and I just felt like it was all going to go so right, and it spoiler alert didn't. But yeah, where'd you go now?
Well, I think with Cucho there, he is someone who, a full season with him,
that's big.
He's gonna get 20 goals next season. So naturally, that should push them up the table. But I mean, you look at Columbus, and it was too many goals conceded at the end of matches, and not quite.
Well, that's the thing.
Consistency.
Cucho, great. Zelarayan, great. But if you're gonna leak goals, irrelevant, isn't it?
I'm really fascinated to see who they end up with head coach, where they go, what sort of football they're going to play, because there is so much there at Columbus right now for them to be successful. But we'll wait and see what happens next year. Charlotte, solid first season in MLS, right?
Absolutely, really impressed. Could have been so much worse. Was worse for Austin last year, for example. And so absolutely fair play. Overperformed, overachieved with the roster as well. A lot of players we didn't know.
No.
A lot of players we expected them to sign and didn't happen. I think they've done fantastic, really, all things considered. Yeah,
and I think if their away record was better, they would have made playoffs. But they're not a finished article yet, Charlotte. There's still more to come, more signings to come. So I'm excited to see how they spend their closed season. New England Revolution lost a few players, but ultimately disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in contrast to the previous year, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know you've got the Champions League, but if the Champions League's really going to hurt teams that much, we'll get onto the West, but in and around New England Revolution, you'll also find a team called Seattle Sounders who, have also got that Champions League excuse. If that's where Orlando are going to end up next year, I don't want it.
No.
And that's not a joke.
Yeah, and New England Revolution, for me, they need to replace Adam Buxer up front. They've not quite done that. And I think after him and Turner left, it kind of... That's where he just felt after that it wasn't going to turn around for them. But, they've got a head coach there who knows what he's doing. He's been there before, so I'm sure they're already planning their assault on next season. Atlanta United, a lot of change.
So, can I just get some popcorn?
Yeah.
Thanks. On its way.
There's a lot of change happening at Atlanta. It was disrupted through injuries. But it's always going to be difficult.
It was disrupted through injuries. However, you brought in the ultimate replacement.
Dom did his bit in a small way. And now Josef Martinez looks like he's going.
Dom, I tell you what Dom contributed. I meant to bring this up before.
Yeah.
He had the shot that brought the save of the year.
Oh, we'll see. There you go.
What a guy.
Making an impact.
What a guy.
It's a big change at Atlanta. Martinez going. Obviously, Darren Hills has left for Newcastle. A lot of pressure on Bocanegra over close season. We need to... there's a lot of pressure on Pineda now. I think last season he had half a year, didn't he, going into this season? And you kind of looked at it and thought, well, this is better than De Boer and the other head coaches they had just before it. Now you're looking, going, okay, you've had a season, you didn't make playoffs. You weren't really close to it. We were kind of within a shout, but not. So now it's like you need to get this close season right. You need to move the club on. And I don't know. I think there's a massive change needs to happen at Atlanta. I don't see it happening, but we'll wait and see.
Can I, in all seriousness, this is serious now. Can I just ask you to turn around for a second?
I know.
Miggy.
He's smashing it, isn't he, in the Premier League?
How amazing is it seeing that he's finally hitting his potential in the Premier League?
Yeah, no, that is good. He scores every week, doesn't he, for Newcastle?
That's what he does.
Yeah. It's because Darren Eales is there.
Yeah.
Whenever he's there, I know they say, Eddie Howe and Kieran Trippier's helped him, but now it's Darren Eales. So.
Martinez gone?
Yeah, it's the right time as well. Both sides need to move on. I think Martinez, do I think he'll go to, I know they were talking about Charlotte, do I think he'll stay in MLS? I know he's very settled in
I'd love him to stay in MLS.
the US. Yeah, I would actually, but I don't know. We'll wait and see. On that one. Chicago, good side, weren't they? But better towards the end of the season. But too little, too late, and they've got a lot to build on now.
Chicago are the car that the mechanic looks at for days, just like, that looks fine. That looks fine. No idea what's going on.
No. The players they've got are very... And like I said, towards the end of the season, they started putting a few runs together. Start of the season, it was a very sandwich sort of season. Start of the season, they didn't concede a goal many goals at all. And then it's just the middle that stopped them. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Chicago do. They've gone big, relatively, with Shaqiri and a few other the signings, Mueller. So do they build on that, or do they just work with what they've got?
In theory, what they've got should be fine. And so you kind of want to say consistency is the way to go, but that's a risk.
Yeah, I think it is. Toronto, I think it's harsh to criticise Toronto because Bernadeschi and Insigne coming in, they're going to be much better next year. I think this season was just get those guys in, get them settled, and then move on for next year, personally. I know we could have expected more from them.
Imagine putting that on the season ticket advert.
Well, yeah, obviously they couldn't.
Just come on down. To be honest, we're just getting these guys settled in. Probably going to be awful. But
see the guys who are going to be in the first 11 next year.
Yeah.
When we raise ticket prices. I think... at the end of the defence let him down at the end of the season. Bernadeschi scored a load of goals, didn't he? Insigne did his bit, but they then would lose, 4-2 at home and stuff. I think, was it 4-2?
I think you're generous with Toronto because they weren't good last year either, remember? So
No,
they
they
needed
weren't.
to start getting it right then. Start putting it right then, not sort of, halfway through this year we've got some players in.
Yeah, I guess that. And sorry, I was thinking of the 4-3 to Montreal, the game. But but they have got those two players are good players. So I think if I was a Toronto fan, you put your head in the sand this season and last season and go, okay, I can see a way out, and next year will be much better.
Speaking of a way out, DC United.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'll give him an F. It's been a very poor season. Rooney's got a big job there, a very big job. He took he wanted to go to MLS. He wanted a job. He didn't want to just sit around in England waiting for a job in the Championship of the Premier League.
Who knew staying at Derby would have been the better option?
Yeah, but he's gone there. There's a lot of pressure on him now to turn this around. But you look at the players they've got. I mean, Taxi Funtas is... Yeah, okay, he's done quite well, actually, with the goals he scored, but he needs help. Ravel Morrison could be that help. I think he's a very good player if he settles, but you also need other players. You need other players around them that are going to provide the chances for Funtas, and I just don't think they did that enough.
21 losses.
That's very poor. Yeah, I was... if Toronto are putting their head in the sand for this season, I don't know what DC are doing. One-way trip to, I don't know, Timbuktu, where they don't watch MLS.
34 games, 7 wins, 21 losses.
Yeah, and that's in a league of MLS where it's the parity is kind of similar, much more of another league. So
not anymore.
No, to have that sort of season is poor. Yeah, DC it's a big moment for them now, because if they turn it around next year, then they're the sort of team that could be going one way. But I know a few of the fans are a bit disgruntled. If it doesn't start well, it's going to be another poor season. And for a club like DC with a history, the football heritage, as Jose Mourinho says, bottom is not good enough for them.
On to the West.
Yeah, we've done LAFC. So Austin, and I'll give you one last bit of credit for this season. You said you were on the Austin train. Austin would be doing quite well this year. You said that we had the best closed season in terms of signings, and they finished second in the West in the end. And well, if it wasn't for a disappointing performance at LAFC, they could have got to MLS Cup.
Yeah, I might be wrong 98% of the time, but when I get it right, I'll never let you forget it. Yeah, massively improved, hugely improved. Always looked like they had potential, whereas Cincinnati didn't. That's the difference. But yeah, an incredible season. Bit of a gap to the top three, if we're being honest. If you look at the Supporters' Shield, put Montreal and Philly in there, certainly a gap to LAFC. But best of the rest, absolutely. Yeah,
I don't know what it was with Austin because they were going so well. It kind of, for me, it was as if they thought, we've made playoffs now, let's relax.
Yeah.
Where the other three, like Montreal in particular, kind of thought, because LAFC in Philadelphia naturally were going for Supporters' Shield, so they were still in the hunt for it. Montreal could have sat back. They could have thought, well, we're in the playoffs, but they didn't. They kept on going. And yeah, for me, Austin didn't do it, but I guess Austin will then look and go, well, we got further than Montreal in the playoffs.
Austin only lost one more game than LA.
It's interesting, that. Very interesting. They've got a lot going on for them at the moment.
Yeah.
The stadium, the players, everything looks great. So it's they've got to repeat it now and see if they can go one step further next year. Dallas surprised us a bit, didn't they?
Yeah, in a good way, because it's nice to see we got into MLS to see different teams up there each year. Did surprise us, 7th overall, and to be honest with you, not a huge amount of difference to their Texas rivals. Austin only a few points ahead, and maybe not getting Dallas not getting the credit that they deserve.
I don't think so. I think that's partly because of Jesus Ferreira. I think everyone's looking at him. You don't really look at Dallas as a team. You look at, this young player of the year. He's going to go to the World Cup. How great is he? When they've got 10 other players. So
didn't learn from the Pepe debacle.
No, he didn't. But if you look at that Pepe situation, if for you in whether Ferreira starts next year for Dallas, when I say starts, I don't mean he's going to be dropped, but stays. Does it depend on how he does in Qatar?
I don't know, because I think we're in a weird phase with MLS at the minute where teams are desperate to get them out the door for money. And there will, let's be honest, there'll be offers. Doesn't matter there'll be offers now. Someone will be ready to pay now and take that risk.
Yeah.
And MLS teams, for one reason or another, are desperate to get them out the door. So, yeah, you have to feel like he's not going to be there.
I mean, but what a 12 months if they can sell Pepe and Ferreira.
But where's the next one? Tell me who the next one is. Keep them coming, Dallas.
LA Galaxy didn't need the decision day drama this year. They got into the playoffs and put in a good bit of effort against LAFC. What a game that was. Last minute goal for LAFC got them through. Looking at next year, Chicharito, a full season of Ricky Puig as well. I know we say this every year.
I'm bored of it.
But Galaxy could be contenders next year with those two. If those two are fit for the full season.
I love LA Galaxy. I'm bored myself saying it. This is their year. This is the time. We've talked about the tiers. There's a really big mid section in MLS. They are one of the better teams in it. But also in there, you've got, Minnesota, who we're going to come on to, even down to maybe Portland and Vancouver. I think, it's very close. And so best of the rest, certainly, but you need more. But I just feel like we're always waiting for more from LA Galaxy. Yeah,
I think LA Galaxy's problem is always they can get a really big win, and then the week after they'll lose at home to Houston or Vancouver or whoever. So they need consistency, but it's better this year. They've improved on last year. That was the main thing. They'll hopefully look at what happened with LAFC and think, right, we need to book our ideas up. We need to go for it now because these guys are celebrating on our patch. So, if Chicharito and Ricky Puig stay fit, if they perform next year, if they learn how to take penalties, then I fancy LA Galaxy to make some waves. Nashville did okay in the end. They lost to LA Galaxy in the playoffs. They'll have more of a settled season next year. Now they're in the stadium as well. So I think they've done okay based on all that. And obviously they've got Hani Mukhtar, who was MVP in the end.
Yeah, I got an MVP, got a couple of seasons behind them where they haven't been playing in their own stadium and have still delivered. So their levels are consistent. Opportunity next year to really build on it, and I think they have to go after it. They have to be aggressive in the transfer market. They have to pay the man in terms of Mukhtar, and I think they give themselves a massive chance.
Yeah, this year they only conceded 41, which for MLS is quite solid, and with Mukhtar up there as well.
Zimmerman, isn't it?
Yeah, you've kind of got both bases covered, and that's the recipe for success. You look at Philadelphia this year, and I know that was a very extreme sort of situation, scoring 70 odd and conceding 26 in MLS. That's kind of not heard of. Maybe scoring is, but if Nashville can just do a little bit better, I think they're contenders.
Are the days of all your attackers being the DPs over? Do we look at Zimmerman and go, yeah, do you know what? He's been integral there.
Yes and no. I think there's some teams that wouldn't suit that defensive sort of play. I do think Galaxy don't suit it.
I knew you were going to say Galaxy.
They need their attackers to be DPs. But for clubs like Nashville, yeah, I with respect to Nashville, I mean, it's a great city. I've never been, but it's my mum has, and she said it's a great city.
It's the only recommendation we need.
But if you've got players coming over from Europe, they're probably going to go to LA. So for Nashville, you need to think a bit differently. And I like the way they think about it. I like the way that they brought Zimmerman in early on and went, right, we're going to build a team around you at the back. And then Mukhtar has just added to it.
Solid foundation.
Yeah, exactly. Minnesota, they never really felt like they got going, did they? They made the playoffs, but by the skin of their teeth.
I think the fact that we're looking at Minnesota as having maybe a disappointing season says a lot for how well they've done in the past. Always seem to be there in and around. Same as Nashville, come into the league, done well, been in and around the playoffs. So I think it just speaks for the levels that they've hit previously. Do I think they'll do better next year? I think it depends on what they can do in the winter.
Yeah, I think Reynoso is going to be massive for him as well, but we kind of need the rest of the team to step up a bit. RSL made playoffs again. Unlucky against Austin. We've got to say that. They really know how to dig deep for each other in the playoffs. And if it wasn't for a very dodgy penalty decision right at the end of that game, they probably would have gone through. But there's a lot of... You're looking at RSL at the moment, and I think they're a sort of side where there's a new stadium sponsor. They've been taken over. There's a rumoured new badge as well, which I know you'd enjoy. Could this be the start of a new era at RSL?
Well, they basically won as many as they drew, and they drew as many as they lost. So, it was a very up and down season for RSL. Any investment is good investment, and that's only going to tip the scales in their favour, unless you get it massively wrong. So you have to feel like next year they can build on this with with everything you just mentioned. Couple more wins. Just look at what a couple more wins would have done for them. And I think it changes the whole perception of their season, because it was so tight. We're grading these teams on their league position. We're going through in order of their league position, but it's so tight on the points.
Yeah, and a lot of people were looking at RSL at the start of the year, saw that Rusnak left, and were thinking it might be a bit of a struggle this year. But no, they made playoffs again.
You share a birthday with?
I do, Albert Rusnak. Yeah, my
should mention that more.
Yeah, I should do actually. I'll mention it again start next year, and then the 7th of July. Portland, they were always around mid-table, weren't they? And we always thought they'll be okay. They'll get a few wins towards the end and get over the line, and they didn't do.
Hosted MLS Cup last year.
Yeah.
Finished 15th this year.
Case of the NE Revs. This season, disappointing.
Yeah, and if Seattle didn't finish 21st, I'd really be having a go at them. But it is disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, Portland are one of those sides that you always expect a bit more from. We've seen them do very well in recent years. And, I mean, they've also had a few seasons where they haven't. So they are kind of up and down. But still, you looked at them this season with the squad they've got as well, and you just thought, I don't know, I expected them to be in playoffs. So, I trust with the head coach. I trust with what they've done previously, that they'll do a few trades and get a few in and build and try and get in playoffs next year. But yeah, this year, I don't know. I'd be very disappointed if I was a Portland fan. And like you said, if it wasn't for Seattle not doing very well in the league, which we'll get on to kind of how we judge their season in a moment, maybe that's a bit of light relief for them. But before we talk about Seattle, we've got to talk about Vancouver. They were around the line again. They didn't quite manage to get over. Ryan Gold, Julian Gressel, solid MLS players. Are they one or two players off getting over the line and being, or do you still see them as being, no, they're just going to be Vancouver, who always finish about 8th or 9th?
Yeah, they're a difficult one. And I think at the start of the season, if you said, oh, well, you're going to finish 13 points off Austin, you'd be really worried. But then you're also going to finish ahead of New England Revolution. You're going to finish ahead of Seattle. You're only going to be 3 points off Portland, I believe. Like, you know,
you'd be like, oh,
what is going on? Yeah. So I do think it's been a bit of a strange season overall in the West. You feel like this might have been their chance, because if these other teams are going to have a bit of a dip, this was their time to shine. And you think next year, if Seattle come back, if Portland come back, in terms of the Supporters' Shield, New England Revolution are going to be back. So Columbus looking to be reinvented. It's going to be hard again.
It is, yeah. I think Vancouver should really look at the likes of RSL and see what they're doing, see how they're consistently just getting over the line, because RSL don't have any superstars either. Lucas Cavallini had his best season for him, so it's not out of the question that they're getting playoffs next year. But I don't know. They might be a bit disappointed that we didn't make it in the end, but they got close. They were one game away, weren't they, with that Minnesota game on decision day. Colorado did so well last year. It was always going to be difficult to follow it up, but they couldn't quite do it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, they've had better seasons. # game with a change in name. There's your clue. 43 points. Still ahead of Seattle. They're in that, taking that positive, but that isn't a bit of an anomaly. And another team that you kind of think they were starting to come good in previous years, and now really disappointing. Yeah,
it is. They'll be looking for next season, another season like 2021, rather than this year. But again, they just didn't quite get going in the end. Seattle, right. So Seattle missed out on the playoffs for the first time in a long, long time, but won the Champions League. So for me, it just seemed like it was this season. They were like, we want to win the Champions League, and everything else comes second nature. Because the league, I know they did a bit better in the second half, and they put up a bit of a fight. But
it's weird though, isn't it? Because you want to win the Champions, right? If Orlando said, right, first 10, 15 games, we're going to lose every single game, and we're going to go and win the Champions League, I'd shake your hand and go, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I don't really then understand how they haven't recovered even remotely. Champions League was a long time ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think at the start of the season, you sort of think, well, fair enough, you want to concentrate on the Champions League. But it was so long ago. And they just never really put a run together, and with NYCFC finishing 5th, I don't know. I feel like they've kind of rested on their laurels a little bit.
Yeah. I think they didn't really change many of the players, did they? They brought Rusnak in, and same birthday as me, and one or two others, and they got some long-term injuries back. But yeah, I don't know. It just, over the course of the MLS season, and this is what I find so interesting, is that they did so well in the Champions League. They are the best in that continent right now. But in MLS, they finished, 10th, 11th? Yeah. So it's
they didn't come back, and no one was running scared of them as the Champions League winners. Liverpool, Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich come to town, Dortmund, you're like, oh my goodness me, we're going to get a hide in here. Seattle, Champions League winners, and they come to town and you go, probably beat them. Bizarre.
Yeah, well, they're going to be in the World Club Championship, so that's coming up, so I'm really excited to see what happens. I don't actually know when that is, to be honest, because of the World Cup. So it's coming, and it might be towards the end of the season where suddenly we, it might suit Seattle. They might have played a few games then, but it's probably going to be in a closed season. So whether we see the dream match of Real Madrid versus Seattle, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, they'll be looking for much better next year in the in the MLS anyway. SKC, injuries hampered them a bit, didn't they? I mean, they had a good end to the season. They're looking to build on that, but overall, they'll always be disappointed when we don't make playoffs.
It's hard with the roster rules, but you need strength in depth. And, Atlanta suffered, SKC suffered, and they ended up finishing on the same points, funnily enough. But, this is the reason why RSL and Minnesota and Vancouver should have done better, because all these teams, teams like SKC being right down there with Seattle at the bottom has given everyone a huge opportunity. And I think there's some teams will be frustrated they didn't take that chance. SKC are one of the ones you do expect to come back swinging, though.
Yeah, lost 1 in 8 in the last part of the season. I think, for me, that Sacramento US Open Cup defeat will really hurt them. I think, for me, looking on the outside, US Open was a bit of a relief for them. It was like, right, okay, that can save a poor season. And then they go, and Sacramento did very well to get to the final in the end. But for MLS teams, you looked at that and thought, yeah, we need to win that game. And it's an easier route to the to US Open, and it didn't quite happen. Houston, same old story for Houston, really, isn't it? Just at the bottom of the West. Sebastian Ferreira did well at the end. He's someone who wants to build on for next season. Hector Herrera's there now, but overall, just disappointing again.
18 losses, same as Toronto, who we said were extremely poor. Well, I said we're extremely poor. You stuck up for him. DC with 21 losses. It's Houston almost coming for their record. I don't know the solution for Houston. It changed everything over the years that we've watched them, including the badge, and it's not happened.
No, and I'm with you. I don't know where they go. Where did Houston go? Something's going to happen at some point, and they will click, and they will go up the league. But right now, I know Herrera was injured for a bit at the end of the season, but when he was playing, they weren't really winning. So
go back to the Wilmer Cabrera days. They're no better.
No.
You almost think, right, okay, stop changing everything and just give it a few years, because you can't get worse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Anyway, let's move on to the final team in this little season review that we've got of 2022. San Jose finished bottom of the West. And to be honest, when you compare them to Houston, for me, well, you've got Luchi Gonzalez going in after the World Cup. Ibobisi had a very good season. There's more reasons for optimism at San Jose. It might be small optimism, but there's more reasons for optimism than at Houston.
Change the coach, they said. That'll fix it.
It might do.
Yeah, there is a little bit of optimism, I think, because they've had spells. Whereas with Houston, you sort of think, I can't see it. I can't see it happening, because they've tried everything. I think with San Jose, they've had spells. They've shown some encouragement, so it's about building on that. But I think they need to drill down into where it's going wrong, and I don't think they really know yet.
No, I'd agree with that. I think there's San Jose obviously had a poor relation in California, but they are one of those sides that realistically, what are they aiming for? Are they aiming to try and break into that middle bracket that you were talking about, getting the playoffs? But I don't know. I think there is slight optimism in that. Lucci's got a big job on his hands to try and push them to push on, but it's just, again, it's not quite happening for him in recent years.
Well, there you go. There's our season review. Do you agree with what we've said? Are you fuming with us because you think we're wrong about your team? Maybe you're thinking, yeah, actually, I think you might be on something there. Let us know at MLS UK Show on Twitter and Instagram, and follow us on TikTok. As Henry was saying, we're on there now.
Elliot Holman, Henry Hewitt, MLS UK Show.
Right, so before we go and leave this season of MLS, we've got a few more things to do. We're going to play a game, one of your games, in just a moment. But first, we need to pay tribute to a man who has been, well, we always get tweets about him whenever he's commentating off anyone who lives in the States. It's Ray Hudson. What a guy, what a commentator.
Ooh.
And with us now being on Apple for MLS, I don't know what the deal is with Ray Hudson. I know he's going to stick in...
Sign him up.
Yeah, I know.
Sign him up.
He's going to be in the States doing Champions League stuff still. Whether he'll still be doing MLS stuff, he's been doing Inter Miami stuff for the last few years. I'm not quite sure. But if this is the end of Ray Hudson, we want to celebrate him. And I've been listening back to some Inter Miami commentary for this season, and I've chosen my top 10 Ray Hudson quotes. So we're going to play them out now. So, Elliot.
Can tell you used to produce a chart show.
At number 10, here is the best of Ray Hudson 2022.
Cool as a bomb disposal expert here.
At number 10, cool as a bomb disposal expert. Probably about a one-on-one that he managed to go around the keeper and put in, something like that. Oh, knowing Ray, it could be anything. What's number 9?
And then, in a blink of a bee's eye, Yori Arena it is who strikes it home.
In the blink of a bee's eye, which I don't know whether that's really quick, really slow, really fast, short. I don't know. But
He's buzzing anyway.
What's number 8?
To Yori here, he takes everything into account and absolutely sends this home with 24 roses tied around his right foot. It's beautifully placed, and it's placed where the spiders live.
Right in the corner.
Spiders like roses.
Hey, spiders like anything when Yodi Raynham's scoring. Right, what's the next one?
Slicker than a smashed banana on a tiled floor here.
Slicker than a smashed banana on a tiled floor.
Oh, Ray.
I love him. What's the next one?
It's hotter than the hinges on Hell's Gate.
Hotter than the hinges on Hell's Gate, which would be very hot.
That would be hot. They might need some WD-40 actually after.
You need someone who is as cool as a bomb disposal expert for that one. Right, we're getting into the top 5 now. What's number 5?
Because they had been stretched out like spandex on Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Have you ever been stretched out like spandex?
No, and I've never been to Fort Lauderdale Beach. I don't know if it's very popular for spandex there, but yeah, that's.
What about Poppy? Is she ever? Anyway,
moving
next
on.
one.
Number 4.
Costa this time with a pass that would make an onion cry.
Have I heard that one before?
No, you've not. That's a new
That's
one.
brilliant.
Pasta and making onion cry. Right, we're in the top 3.
Number 3.
Peels away like tissue on a toilet roll.
These are all new ones. I think because we've not done this for a while, but we have done. I think a few of those we've already heard. So these are brand new ones. I love him.
Number 2.
Dangerous than a sun lamp to an albino.
Dangerous to a sun lamp. It's a sun lamp to an albino. Right. So what's number 1 now? I think this is my favourite because the gap in the middle.
Here we go.
Best of Ray Hudson.
Number 1 in the Ray of Sunshine top 10.
Drake Calendar's got to be a kangaroo on a trampoline here.
We got there in the end. He was thinking in his words, like, oh, what can it?
Space hopper?
No.
Pogo stick? No. Trampoline.
There we go. There's the Ray of Sunshine, the best of Ray Hudson 2022. I really hope that Ray takes on some sort of a role with Apple.
Sign him up.
Yeah, and we get more of Ray Hudson in 2023. But if that's it, then Ray, I don't think he watches this, to be honest. But Ray, if you do, thank you for giving us so much joy over the last few years. And I'm sure Inter Miami and MLS fans appreciate it as well.
Apple, sign him up.
Right, for the last time this season, Elliot, we need one of your games.
Yeah, and I've chosen my favourite one of the year.
Oh, go on.
And it was called, see if you can remember what it is, Read My Lips.
Oh, not this one. I ended up shouting down the microphone. Yeah, so basically what my memory of this one is, I've got to play something through my laptop into my head, so I can't hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got to answer the questions you ask me, but based on what I think you're saying.
That's right. Have you chosen what you're going to listen to?
Yes, in tribute to our new MLS Cup champions, I'm going to listen to California Love by Tupac.
Oh, California Love.
That's the one. Tell me when to start it. I wonder if it'll cut it, you can hear it through the headphones. Yeah, the microphone.
Go on, you start it. Wait for it.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it. We can hear it. Okay, so I am going to say a phrase or a couple of words to do with MLS in 2022, mainly the last couple of weeks. And Henry is going to try and read my lips and read back to me what I say. Ready? Okay. Number 1. Messi, the DP.
Okay, I'm going to try not to shout this time. But what? Say that again.
Messi, the DP.
Not a clue. I'm just going to say Don Garber.
Number 2. The latest goal in MLS history.
Did you say history at the end? The best MLS Cup, the best MLS Cup final in history. That was when Atlanta won it, definitely.
Number 3. East versus West.
Did you say whiz at the end? When was the last time I took a whiz? About 2 hours ago.
You can just hear Dr. Dre in the background. Number 4, Apple TV.
Apple TV?
Yes! And number 5, Wales Golf MLS Cup.
Where do the spiders live? In the top corner.
That would have been better.
So how did I do?
You got 1.
Oh, great. Okay.
Where the spiders live was a good shout.
Okay. This again, as I said last time, it doesn't mean anything to me yet, but when I edit it later, I'll be able to actually hear what my answers. It'll all come together. But I hope you enjoyed that, and it's. I've enjoyed your games this year. We'll have to. You've got the close season now and the World Cup to
come up with 20 more.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's it for this season of the MLS UK show. Thanks very much for everyone who has watched on YouTube or listened on your podcast provider, left us a rating, commented, tweeted us, and all of that stuff. We have got some exciting news though, because this isn't quite it for the MLS UK show in 2022. We will be doing some special episodes during the World Cup. We couldn't let this go, could we? We couldn't let the MLS...
England, USA, Canada, England.
Yeah, all the MLS links. We couldn't let it go. So we will be doing some episodes, more like reaction episodes. We'll be jumping on Zoom a few times with each other after the big matches, and we'll be discussing them, plus what's going on with the World Cup. And if there's any MLS news as well, we'll cover that as well.
And there's going to be a moment where one of England, USA, and Canada are knocked out.
Yeah, inevitably, because they all can't win it.
Yeah.
We'd love it to happen, but it can't happen, so...
Bring it on. Game with a change in name?
Yes, let's round it off. And you know what? I know why you laughed before because when you hinted during this... I'd tell you what, give us his career path and I'll explain my answer.
So this is an MLS Cup winner. And they started their career, youth career at Arsenal. They played for Fulham as well. Colchester United, Enfield, Wycombe Wanderers, Welling United, Barnet and Aylesbury United. That's 211 career appearances in midfield from Harlow in England and went on to win MLS Cup.
Well, you see, I said, oh, well, I'm thinking of Nick Cushing and Gary Smith, and you sort of laughed at the camera and I thought, that's suspicious. And then during our our season review, you said about Colorado and MLS Cup. And I seem to remember that Colorado have won MLS Cup before, as we all know. Yeah. And their head coach was someone who we all know about. And he's actually someone who I mentioned. It was Gary Smith, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you said he's never won MLS Cup.
I forgot all about it. But then you doing that, I thought, yes, he was him. So, yeah.
And... The house opposite me, out there, their family owns a garden centre.
Wow, this is a tedious link.
And when I was on a dog walk with them the other day, they said, one of the MLS manager's mums came into the garden centre the other day, and it was Gary Smith.
Mrs. Smith?
Mrs. Smith.
Wow, okay. You need to get
more information.
Well,
that's what they said anyway. I wasn't there.
Yeah, you need to get more information.
Said, he's the coach of Nashville. And I was like, Gary Smith?
Yeah, Nashville fans want to know what's Gary Smith's mum buying from a garden centre.
Front garden looks lovely.
Right, don't forget, if you have listened to this and enjoyed it, then please leave us a rating on your podcast provider. But Elliot, for one more season, we're locked in. There's one rule and one rule only.
5 stars only, LA Galaxy style.
If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. I had a look. We have got, I think it's about...
4?
No. We've got about 60% of you watch this and don't subscribe. So please can you start subscribing? We'd really appreciate that. And click the notification bell as well. And we'll be back for some World Cup episodes very soon.
Don't feel bad. I'm not subscribed. Thank you very much for watching this year. Have a great winter. Enjoy the World Cup. We'll talk to you during.
See ya.